Okay, let's just jump right in. What if I told you that the most basic rule of business strategy, the one they teach you on day one, is not just wrong, but actually dangerous? Today, we're going to dig into a revolutionary idea from marketing legend Jack Trout that literally flips business thinking on its head.
But hey, before we start tearing down the old way of thinking, if you love challenging conventional wisdom, do me a solid and hit that subscribe button and give this explainer a like. That way you won't miss out when we tackle the next big idea.
All right, let's get into it. First, we need to really understand the big lie that, honestly, most of the business world is built on. It sounds like perfect common sense, but as we're about to see, it's anything but.
And here it is. It sounds perfectly logical, doesn't it? First, you come up with the grand vision, the big 5-year plan. That's your strategy. Then you figure out the little steps to get there. Those are your tactics. Strategy first, tactics second. Who could possibly argue with that?
Well, Jack Trout argues with it. And he doesn't just kind of disagree. He calls this whole idea the most dangerous concept in business. So why? Because it's a process that starts and ends in a conference room, totally disconnected from the real, messy, unpredictable world of the marketplace.
And that brings us right to the main event, the bottom-up revolution. This is where we flip the entire script.
This slide really just lays it all out. On one side, you've got the old-school, top-down way. It's all about, what do we want to do? It's a plan made from the top. But then you look at bottom-up thinking, and it's all about reality. It asks, what idea will actually work out there? What can we find on the front lines? It's about discovering a winning idea first and then building your grand plan around it. The tactic actually determines the strategy.
So, let's be super clear on what we mean by tactic. In this world, a tactic isn't just some random action. It's a competitive mental angle. It's that one single sharp idea that can wedge its way into a customer's mind. It's super focused. As Trout puts it, it's the nail.
And if the tactic is the nail, well, you know what comes next. The strategy is the hammer. And here's the kicker. The hammer has one job, and one job only, to drive that nail home. A strategy isn't some vague dream. It's a clear direction, a set of moves all designed for one thing, to take full advantage of that killer tactic you found.
Now, to really see how this works, let's take a look at a famous example from history. We all know Columbus had a top-down strategy, right? Find a shorter route to India. And his tactic for that was to just sail west. But what if he'd been thinking from the bottom up?
This is just such a perfect way to look at it. His tactic, sailing west, was absolutely brilliant, a total game changer. But he was so locked into his top-down strategy of find India that he literally couldn't see the massive success he'd stumbled upon. He discovered a whole new world, but died thinking he was a failure, all because his strategy was too rigid to deal with the reality his tactic uncovered. Crazy, right? Now let's bring this into a world we all know with the incredible story of NyQuil. So Vicks had this new cold medicine, but there was a big problem. It made people sleepy. A top-down manager would say, that's a bug, get rid of it. But a bottom-up thinker saw something else. They asked, wait a minute, what if that weakness is actually its greatest strength? And bam, that's where the tactic came from, the first nighttime cold remedy. That one simple idea, the nail, created a whole new category, and the billion-dollar strategy just followed right behind it.
So we've seen how powerful it is to find that winning idea and build up from it. But what happens when companies do the exact opposite? When they let a big top-down strategy just run wild? Well, that brings us to what Trout calls the greatest sin in all of marketing.
It all comes down to this one question. Think about it in your own life. If you need, say, open heart surgery, are you going to your family doctor who does a bit of everything? Or are you finding the absolute best heart surgeon you can? The answer is obvious, because our brains are just wired to trust the specialist, the expert. And you see this play out over and over again on the store shelves. Just look at these. Kraft is a monster brand, a total generalist. But when you think of mayonnaise, you probably think of Helmets, the mayo specialist. When you think of pineapple, it's Dole, right? Not Del Monte, the general fruit company. For jams, it's Smucker's. The lesson here is that a focused brand, a specialist, almost always wins inside the customer's mind.
And that is why line extension, that corporate need to slap a famous brand name on every new product imaginable, is so dangerous. It's the ultimate result of top-down thinking. The logic is, hey, our brand is strong, so let's put it on everything. But in reality, every time you do that, you water down what your brand stands for. You go from being a specialist to a generalist, and you leave the door wide open for a focused competitor to come in and eat your lunch.
Okay, so how do you actually use this stuff? This last part is all about putting bottom-up marketing to work. Think of this as your new mission.
First things first, get out of the boardroom. The real front line isn't a store, it's inside your customer's head. And your job isn't to change their mind. That's basically impossible. Your job is to find what they already think and use that to your advantage. And this means leadership has to actually listen to the people on the ground. You're hunting for that one little opening, that single idea that makes you different. Remember, you have to find the nail before you even start thinking about building the hammer.
So I want to leave you with one last really important question to chew on. What simple, powerful idea, what winning tactic is sitting right there in front of you? What opportunity is your business or your project, or heck, even your own career, totally ignoring just because it doesn't fit into some big, grand strategy that someone made up in a meeting? Your next big breakthrough might be hiding in plain sight. If this explainer got your wheels turning, make sure you're subscribed and have those notifications turned on because you won't want to miss our next one. We'll be back soon to question some more common sense. Thanks for watching.